Office politics decide more promotions than performance. And if you don't understand them, you're playing the game blind. Most people think office politics is about manipulation, backstabbing, or sucking up to the boss. But here's the truth. Office politics is simply the hidden system of influence that runs every workplace. You can ignore it, but it will never ignore you. Think about it. In every office, there are two games being played. The first is the visible one. Deadlines, meetings, performance reviews. That's the game you were hired to play, and it's the one most people focus on. But there's a second invisible game happening at the same time. It's about relationships, perception, and power dynamics. That's the game that actually decides who rises, who gets stuck, and who quietly disappears. If you've ever wondered why some people with average skills get promoted faster than the hardest workers, the answer is this hidden game. They've figured out the rules that no one writes down in the employee handbook, and in the next 15 minutes, I'll break those rules down for you in plain English. You'll learn how office politics really works, how to use it without being fake or manipulative, and most importantly, how to protect yourself from the negative side of it. By the end of this video, you'll never look at your workplace the same way again. So let's start with the basics. What exactly is office politics? At its core, it's not about being fake or manipulative. Office politics is simply how decisions get made when humans work together. It's the system of influence that exists in every team, whether people talk about it or not. When you strip away the negative stereotypes, it's really about understanding people, building relationships, and positioning yourself so your contributions actually get noticed. The problem is, most of us were never taught this side of work. We were told, work hard, deliver results, and everything will fall into place. But in reality, that advice leaves out half the picture. Hard work matters, but it only matters if the right people see it, value it, and connect it to your potential. Otherwise, you risk becoming invisible. That's why learning the unwritten rules of office politics is so powerful. It doesn't mean playing dirty, it means playing smart. In the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through the 5 key lessons you need to know. Why hard work alone isn't enough. How power and influence actually operate. How to build allies. How to manage up. And how to protect yourself from toxic games. Once you understand these, you'll have the clarity to navigate your career with confidence instead of confusion. One of the biggest myths in the workplace is that hard work automatically leads to success. We've all heard the advice. Keep your head down, deliver results, and sooner or later, the right people will notice. It sounds logical, even comforting. But in reality, it's not how things work anymore. Here's why. Effort is invisible unless it's paired with visibility. Imagine 2 employees. One works long hours, always hits deadlines, but never speaks up in meetings. The other does solid, maybe even average work, but makes sure their progress is shared, their wins are visible, and their manager is always in the loop. Who gets recognized? Almost always, it's the second person. Not because they're better, but because they've mastered presence in addition to performance. Companies are busy, managers are overloaded, and decision makers don't see everything. If you're counting on someone magically noticing your effort, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. What they see is what shapes their perception, and perception is often treated as reality. That doesn't mean you should brag or exaggerate. It means you need to deliberately connect the dots between the work you're doing and the value it creates. Send that quick update email. Speak up in a meeting. Share credit with your team while making sure your role is clear. It's not about ego. It's about making sure your contribution is part of the story leadership tells when opportunities come up. The takeaway is simple. Performance matters, but performance plus presence is what gets rewarded. Hard work is the entry ticket. Visibility is what gets you to the next level. Now that we've cleared up the myth of hard work, let's talk about something that makes a lot of people uncomfortable. Power and influence. The word power sounds negative, but in reality, it just means the ability to get things done. In every workplace, there are people who hold more of it sometimes because of their title. but often because of their relationships, expertise, or reputation. Think of power like a network of currents running through your office. Some people sit at the center, where all the information flows. Others may not have fancy titles, but they're trusted advisors, connectors, or problem solvers. If you only look at the org chart, you'll miss the real map of influence that shapes decisions. Understanding this map is critical. Ask yourself, who does your boss listen to? Who has the ear of senior leadership? Who seems to get projects approved faster or resources allocated more easily? These aren't accidents. There are signs of influence at work. And here's the key point. You don't need to be cutthroat to tap into this. You build influence by consistently delivering value, by being reliable, and by nurturing trust. Over time, people see you as someone worth listening to. That's influence, and it often outweighs formal authority. The danger comes when you ignore this side of things. If you're only focused on doing your job, while others are strategically building influence, you'll always feel one step behind. But once you learn to see the currents of power clearly, you can position yourself where opportunities naturally flow your way. If influence is about how decisions flow, then allies are the people who make sure you're not navigating that flow alone. No one gets ahead in their career purely by themselves. The most successful people almost always have a network of supporters, advocates, and trusted colleagues who amplify their work and vouch for their character. Think of allies as your personal support squad at work. They're the people who bring your name up in rooms you're not in, who back you when tough projects come up, and who make sure credit is shared fairly. Without allies, you can easily become isolated, even if you're doing great work. With them, you create momentum that carries you forward. So how do you build these relationships? It doesn't start with asking for favors. It starts with giving. Small things count. Sharing helpful resources, acknowledging someone's contribution in a meeting, or stepping up to support a teammate when they're under pressure. These actions build trust, and trust is the foundation of every strong alliance. Another key point: diversify your allies. Don't only focus on your boss or people in power. Build connections across teams, across levels, and even with peers who may not have authority today, but could tomorrow. Careers are long, and today's colleague might be tomorrow's decision maker. Importantly, don't treat this like a transaction. People can sense when you're only connecting for self-interest. Real allies are built through consistency, authenticity, and a genuine interest in helping others succeed. And when you have that reputation, people are far more likely to rally around you when you need it most. When people hear the phrase managing up, they sometimes roll their eyes. It sounds like sucking up to your boss, right? But that's not what it really means. Managing up is about creating a healthy, productive relationship with your manager so that you both succeed. Think of it less like flattery and more like strategy. If your boss looks good, you look good. And if your boss fails, it almost always drags you down too. So how do you manage up effectively? First, learn what your boss actually cares about. Every manager has a handful of priorities that matter more than anything else. It might be hitting deadlines, reducing errors, or keeping their own boss happy. Pay attention to these signals and align your work so that your contributions make their life easier. Second, communicate in their language. Some bosses love details and spreadsheets. Others just want a quick summary. Adapting your style to theirs makes you more effective and keeps them from feeling frustrated. Third, anticipate needs. Don't just wait for instructions. Think one step ahead. If you can see a problem before your boss does and offer a solution, you instantly become more valuable. That kind of proactive support is remembered when promotion discussions come up. Now, here's the important part. Managing up doesn't mean becoming a yes person. Blind agreement doesn't earn respect. In fact, it can make you seem weak. The real skill is being honest while remaining tactful. Share your perspective, flag risks, or suggest alternatives, but do it in a way that shows you're on the same team. When you manage up well, You're not just another employee, you're a trusted partner. And trusted partners are the ones leaders rely on, promote, and reward. So far, we've talked about the positive side of office politics, how to build influence, allies, and strong relationships. But let's be real, not all politics are healthy. Sometimes, workplaces have toxic players who manipulate, take credit for others' work, or spread rumors to get ahead. If you don't protect yourself, you can get dragged into games that damage your reputation or drain your energy. The first step is awareness. Pay attention to patterns. Does a colleague always seem to shift blame when things go wrong? Does someone consistently withhold information or try to undermine others? Spotting these behaviors early helps you avoid walking into traps. Second, set boundaries. Toxic players thrive when they know they can push people around without consequences. Stay professional. Keep your interactions brief and document important conversations or agreements. That way, if something is twisted later, you have a record to protect yourself. Third, don't fight fire with fire. It's tempting to match gossip with gossip or politics with politics, but that usually backfires. Instead, double down on professionalism. Over time, your reputation for being steady, fair, and focused on results will outweigh the noise. Finally, know when to escalate. If toxic behavior crosses into harassment, discrimination, or something that affects your well-being, loop in HR or higher leadership. Protecting your career also means protecting your mental and emotional health. The key takeaway: you can't eliminate toxic politics, but you can control how much power they have over you by staying professional, keeping records, and building a solid reputation. You make yourself harder to target and easier to trust. Let's pull everything together. Office politics might sound messy or even unfair, but at its core, it's just the reality of how workplaces operate. The people who rise are rarely the ones who only work the hardest. They're the ones who understand the system and know how to navigate it. We started with the first lesson: hard work alone isn't enough. You need performance plus presence. Then we looked at power and influence, the hidden currents that decide how things really get done. From there, we talked about allies, the support squad that amplifies your work when you're not in the room. Lesson 4 was all about managing up, building a strong strategic relationship with your boss. And finally, we addressed the darker side, protecting yourself from toxic politics by staying professional, setting boundaries, and documenting when needed. When you combine these lessons, you start to see office politics not as a dirty game, but as a skill set, one that lets you play smart, protect your reputation, and create real opportunities for yourself. You don't have to manipulate, you don't have to gossip, and you don't have to sell your soul, but you do need to pay attention. Connect with the right people and position yourself where your contributions are recognized. The bottom line is this: you don't win at office politics by being fake, you win by being strategic. All right, so how do you actually put all of this into action? Let me give you a simple 3-step starter plan you can use this week to start navigating office politics with confidence. Step 1, map the key relationships at work. Grab a piece of paper and sketch out who really influences decisions in your workplace. Not just the people with titles, but also the ones others go to for advice or approval. Once you see this map clearly, you'll know where to focus your attention. Step 2, identify 1 or 2 allies you can invest in. Think of colleagues you respect and trust, people you'd want in your corner. Do something small to strengthen those relationships, whether it's offering help, sharing credit, or simply showing genuine interest in their success. Step 3, schedule 1 proactive check-in with your manager this week. It doesn't have to be formal, just a quick update on what you're working on and how it ties to their priorities. This one move builds visibility, strengthens trust, and shows that you're thinking beyond your own desk. If you repeat these steps consistently, week after week, you'll start to notice a shift. You won't just be working hard, you'll be working smart. And that's when office politics stops being a mystery and starts becoming an advantage. Now that you understand how office politics really works, I want to hear from you. What's the sneakiest or most surprising office politics move you've ever seen? Drop it in the comments. I read every one, and your stories might even help someone else navigate their own workplace. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button so more people can discover it. And if you want to keep leveling up in your career, make sure to subscribe because I've got more videos coming on promotions, leadership, and navigating corporate life. Finally, if you're ready to go deeper, check out the next video. I've linked here. It breaks down the real reason promotions happen and why hard work alone doesn't guarantee success. Trust me, you don't want to miss it.